All right. Uh, check, check. It's working. All right. Welcome back to the very good podcast that you are all seeming to like at the moment, which is my podcast. Welcome back, everybody. My name is General Prime, and today happens to be a Sunday, right? And there is this question I always want to ask because it has happened to me several times. It has happened to me like about 5 times now. Why is it that? Because we have a lot of Jehovah's Witness people on this. We have a lot of Jehovah's Witnesses here, and they are mostly white. Now, my question is, why is it that they are always fucking coming? You're always trying to preach to the blacks. Like, is it that the whites don't? Is it that their fellow white people don't want to go to heaven? I understand that it might be because of the language barrier, because most of the witnesses that I talk to or that try talking to me speak perfect English. So I assume that they are foreigners, tourists that come here to preach, and these talks don't. Most of them are not English speakers. So yeah, that might be a very valid reason why they don't approach them. But I mean, you cannot tell me that you can't try, right? I don't know. Like, they're always coming to preach to Africans. Why is it that you're always trying to like impose your God on us? Like, with the this is my own personal opinion, right? I don't like it, but then there is nothing I can do about it because, well, for the most part, they're usually nice and they're always almost old. So I have no other option than to like respect them and just like just just listen to them basically, and kindly and respectfully tell them off that, oh no, I don't want to come to your church. I don't want to accept your pamphlet. I'm not really subscribed to your belief. And interestingly enough, they always respect my 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 decision. So they always respect it, and the whole thing, like, it just dissolves, and that's that about that. But then when people like fucking Christ Embassy or bloody fucking mostly Pentecostal churches, when they try to come to preach to you, they're always intrusive and they're always like, come and this will happen and your life will be changed. I'm like, fuck you, man. My life is not going to be changed. Your life is not changed. So how do you expect my life to be changed? How much do you know about me that you're like, for when these guys come and tell me that like, for example, the other day, the other Sunday, like one random Sunday, I was going out in the morning to get myself a beer, and this guy walks up to me and tells me that the Holy Spirit told him to talk to me and tell me his life story. Turns out he used to do heroin and cocaine, and he used to be an armed robber and this and that, and then the Holy Spirit arrested him, and now he's a fucking pastor, and he wants me to come to church with him because my life is going to be changed. And I was looking at this guy like, you know that meme, right? Like, this nigga is capping. Shut the fuck up, man. Really? You used to do heroin? How? Like, how did you do your heroin, bro? Like, how did you do the heroin? Did you inject it? What, like, how did you do it, and how were you saved from doing fucking meth? How? That's not possible. You used to do cocaine? I was looking at him like, you used to do cocaine? Man, fuck you. Get the fuck out of here, man. These people are fair, they are insufferable, man. It's not like I'm being judgmental. Like, I understand the belief, I understand your need for your belief and all of that, and blah 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 and yada yada yada. But please, can you not try to be as intrusive and as insufferable as you guys are? When I've not been to church in a long time, but all the times that I've been to church since I lost my belief was mainly because of food. Was mainly because of food. People who invite me to church, and then I ask them, like the guy I was just talking to you guys about now, I asked him, is there going to be food? And he was like, not food in the sense of the one I want, like I want food. He was saying, I'm going to be filled. No, that's not what I want. I don't want to be filled with the Holy Spirit, bro. I want to eat food. I asked him, is there going to be food? I was like, no, then I'm not coming to your church. But whenever someone invites me to church and I ask, is there going to be food? And he says, or he or she says yes, then if I am not busy, then I go. That's just how it is for me. I go to church for food and food alone, because that's the most meaningful thing in my opinion. In my opinion, that's the most meaningful thing. Let me say the third time. In my opinion, that happens in church for me. Oh, but maybe for the rest of you believers, the camaraderie, the social gathering, the whole community, or the whole community of, or the whole I don't even know how to explain it. I don't even know how to put it. The whole socialness of going to church might be what does it for you guys. It might not even be the whole gospel thing or anything. Just going to church, showing off your clothes, showing off how cool you are, and meeting your friends and people you have seemingly the same things in common with might be what does it for you. But for me, the only reason I will go to church is because of the food. And you guys really do cook some really nice meals. Not even going to lie. So yeah, that's that about that with my whole church escapade and church experience so far. So yeah, today is Sunday and Sunday is over, and we've just been chilling. I've just been chilling, and this is something I experienced today, and I want to talk about it. You have heard about The Art of War, right? By, I forgot his name, but you know he's the Chinese warrior guy, Song Tzu, right? That's his name. You've heard about The Art of War, but have you heard about The War of Art? That's a really nice book. I read this book like was it I've been reading this book today, right? And what I have come to understand from this book is that most of us, most people, in fact everybody on earth that has ever lived, has something in them that this book describes as resistance. And resistance, basically, as I understand it to be, is what is the reason why people hate Mondays, right? Because Mondays are like, after we have our weekends, our dreadful, as adults, we have these dreadful weekends that we use to rest and recuperate and like just catch our breaths, like, right? Then Monday comes and we're like, fuck, we have to do this all over again for another fucking 6 days. So resistance is why we just hate Mondays. Like, it's the reason why we don't want to get out of bed. Resistance is the reason why there are a lot of people working dead end jobs and keeping their actual purpose behind them, because they have to work they have to do redundant jobs to at least put food on their table. Resistance is the reason why at every new year people come up with fucking New Year's resolutions, and their New Year's resolutions do not last. That is resistance for you. Resistance is comfort resistance is comfort, essentially. Resistance is not leaving your comfort zone and just trying to stay where you are, stay inside this bubble that you have created for yourself that you feel is comfortable for you. Resistance is why people who say they want to start working out, or they want to start eating right, or they want to start following their passions, end up not doing it because they feel, or people who want to quit some bad habit like alcoholism, or like smoking or doing drugs or stuff like that, end up not doing it. Resistance is the reason a friend of mine wants to stop smoking, and he keeps telling me that he's going to stop smoking, but he has not stopped smoking. That is what resistance is in a nutshell. The thing that draws us back from being who we are rightfully supposed to be. That's what resistance is, and that's what this book is talking about. And I want to explain it further in the best way that I have understand this book. The War of Art. Very nice book. Short, small book, but nice. It was a good read. Not even going to lie to you. So, I don't know. this is how I see the world, right? This is how I see humanity. This is how I see reality. Like for as long as I can remember, one of my earliest memories from the time I was born, one of my earliest memories is me thinking that I was the only real person on earth, and like every other thing that happens to me, every other person that I saw, or everything that was going on around me was just a figment of my imagination. Like I don't know if anybody else experienced that when they were growing. But as for me, the earliest thing I think I can remember was me just assuming that I was actually God. Like I was actually God, and I was just everything that was going on around me was just me projecting, and just like was kind of like a simulated, or should I say, what's that word that they use in gaming when you try to like say you're playing something like Star Citizen, or you're playing something like fucking No Man's Sky. What's the word? Procedurally generated. Yeah. So as early as I can remember, I always felt like I was God, and the reality around me was just me projecting and procedurally generating people's lives. And so everything around me, my parents, my family, strangers, cars, buildings, roads, animals, plants, everything, the air, the sea, people in other countries, everything around me, as far back as I can remember, the earliest things I can remember was just me thinking that I was procedurally generating reality. So that's one of the things I can remember. That's how I've always seen reality, until I grew up and then came to find out that that is something called solipsism, where where someone feels that like they're the only entity that exists, and either they are in a simulation or a brain in a vat, or like everything is like a dream. So that's called solipsism. I'm a solipsist. Not really a solipsist, just I feel that way sometimes. So because I feel that way sometimes, this is how I see the world. This is how I see reality. This is how I see humans, basically. I feel like human beings, right, as inept and, well, let's say creative and intelligent, but inept nonetheless, or nevertheless, as inept as we are, I feel like we are just apes that happened to be invaded by some alien form called, we now refer to as the human brain. Like we're not supposed to be as intelligent as we are, or should I say, we're not supposed to be as we're not supposed to be as what's the word, fucking conscious as we are, right? We're just supposed to be apes doing ape shit. Right? So but then there was this invasion, right? And these forms that we call more intellectual brain power has invaded us, and now there is this constant struggle between the brain and the body, to the point that right now the brain has become the slave of the body. Even as powerful as the brain is, like as powerful and as intelligent, right, and as purposeful as the brain is, it still ends up being slave to the body, because the body is instinctual. The body just wants to keep doing what the body has always been doing for millions of years, until it somehow happened to be invaded by this alien species we call the human brain, and now is forcing it to do cool stuff instead of just going about eating shit and just like fucking and and doing whatever it wants to do. Like the brain wants the body to create. The brain wants the body to be better. The brain wants the body to do stuff, to innovate, to evolve, to like expatiate. But the body just wants to chill, bro. The body just wants to chill and smoke weed and like fuck bitches, man. So this is how I see the world. Like I see the world, I see humans, I see reality as this constant battle between the brain and the body all the time. So but how does this battle get resolved? Like how does this battle eventually end? Is when, because right now the brain and the body are not on the same page, This battle ends when the brain and the body eventually are on the same page, when things are in harmony, when things are like balanced. But most of the time it never happens. Like 96% of the time in all of human history, it never happens. There's just, this is my opinion, everything I'm saying right now is just based on my own observation. So I mean, look at how chaotic look at how chaotic humanity has been from the onset, from when we started, from when we began, from when modern humans started to now. Look at how chaotic our reality has been. There's been constant wars, there's been disagreement, so we're just naturally not able to get along with each other. We try our best, we try as much as we can to try to get along with each other. We come up with concepts like cities and marriage and government and religion and education and culture and tradition, just to try our best to get along with each other. But at the end of the day, and language, let's not forget language and music and art and fucking things that we do just to try our best to get along with each other. This is the brain's best efforts to try to like make things work. But we always end up going back to our animalistic instincts. We want to always end up fighting each other, hating each other, fucking destroying each other, backbiting each other, and while we're at it, destroying the world. We also fucking the world up, man. Fucking all the other species up, fucking other plants, just making things uncomfortable for every other life form on this planet. That's humanity for you. So let's go back to the individual, right? Let's go back to the book I was trying to explain to you. The book I was talking about, The War of Art. What was the book talking about again? What was the book talking about, bro? What was the book? Listen, I'm not drunk, I'm not high, I'm just like buzzed up on coffee right now, so that's why I'm talking so fast. So, but what was the book talking about? Just chill, relax, bro. The book was talking about resistance. Yeah, thank you. Resistance being the downfall of man. Do you know that there was a game called Resistance, the Fall of Man? Like, did the developers actually read the book before they made that game? Because that game was crazy. There used to be a game called Resistance, the Fall of Man, and now I just read a book called Resistance that talks about. I just read a book called The War of Art that talks about resistance being man's downfall. Coincidence? I think not. So anyway, so how are we supposed to balance this ever unending battle between man and his brain? Like, how are we supposed to like resolve this issue? Believe it or not, we have actually tried. We have tried in the form of religion. See, I used to ask this question before. Like, if you can tell me something, I used to ask, and I'm very thankful, that nobody actually took me up on my challenge. So I used to ask people before, if you can tell me one thing that religion that the best answer used to be scientific, and before, but right now the best answer is religious, I'm going to like give you a certain amount of money. That's what I used to tell people before. And as much as, and no, so far nobody has been able to fucking give me an answer, which is kind of, should I say, sad, or it's like, really, you can't give me any fucking answer, really? I have to come up with an answer by myself, even though I am actually not religious. Shame on you. Shame on you, my nigga. Anyway, the answer actually is routine. All right, the answer is simple: routine. Man just needs a routine. We don't have a precise, or like, we don't have a precise purpose on it. Like, for example, someone creates a spoon. The spoon is for eating, right? The chair is for sitting down. Shoes are for wearing and making the feet comfortable. Beds are for sleeping on. clothes are for clothes are to be worn and stuff, cars are to be driven. These are specific purposes, but man does not have any specific purpose. Man actually has no purpose on it. That's because, first of all, this is my conspiracy theorist conspiracy theory. That's because we are fucking animals before, like we're apes before, like we just fucking we fuck and we eat and we kill and fuck and eat and kill. That's all. Until we were invaded by this alien species that named itself the brain, and now we have to like find purpose for ourselves. So, man, like Carl Sagan, like the world famous Carl Sagan said, man is the cost. What did he say? What? We are the custodians of life's meaning, meaning that we create our own purpose for ourselves. That's basically what it means by us being the custodians of life's meaning. So, because we are that, right? We have to like do things for ourselves. We have to like make. We have to create meaning for ourselves. So, and that is what religion for thousands of years now has been able to help man achieve, to give man a certain kind of meaning, a certain kind of purpose, to give man routine, laws, and fucking rituals that he must follow, that he must do every day, and do's and don'ts, and ifs and consequences for doing things, and just basically giving man the carrot and the stick. That's basically what it is. That's that's one of the good things that religion has done for man, to give man a routine. So how about people who end up losing their faiths? How about people who end up not subscribing to the status quo of conventional organized religion? What then happens to them? Most people like to think that people who are no longer religious then go about shooting and killing and pillaging and just drinking and being demoralized and decadent and all of that stuff, but that's not true. Most of the nicest people I know, in fact most of the most intelligent people and wealthiest people and happiest people I have heard about and know, are not religious. Most of the saddest fucking animalistic fucking conniving people that I know obviously are religious. I mean, there is this obviously are religious. Let's not even go into that, but I'm sure you understand what I'm trying to say. So anyway, but the good thing that religion has done for us is giving us routine. You have to wake up every morning and you have to pray if you're Christian, and if you're Muslim you have to pray 5 times, and you have to read your Bible or your Quran, and you have to help your neighbor. I mean, these are the surface level rituals and instructions you have to follow. But if you're not a fucking Christian, say you're an atheist or agnostic, and you have no guiding force or guiding lights to follow, right? What then do you do with your life? Do you just go about drinking and just doing whatever it is you want to do? Well, you're free to do that, but at the end of the day, where does that lead you to? Like, what do you get? Believe it or not, people get satisfaction from being religious. That's a that's a hard pill to swallow. That's the truth. People get satisfaction from that community and that presence of, like, the same feeling you get when you're in a very large church, right? And then you're told to raise your hand up and close your eye, and then the music is the worship song is going on, and everything just feels so sublime. That same feeling you get in church is the same feeling someone else who's at the rave or like a concert, like a Taylor Swift or Justin Bieber or fucking Kendrick Lamar or J. Cole concert, like, fuck, that's the same feeling they get, because music gives us the same feeling, whether it is gospel or rap or jazz. It gives everyone the same feeling. So people in church call that the Holy Spirit descending on them, whatever. And people who are like at the concert just call it fucking, you're chilling, bro, we're having fun. So at the end of the day though, what's the end game? Like, what do you end up gaining from all of that when you don't have any guiding lights, or when you don't have this? Because we humans are biologically, and we have this biological need for a parent figure, right? So that's why we've created these higher powers and these higher beings to we imagine look after us and like command our entire lives and organize and like try to guide our entire lives. All these gods we've created for ourselves because we are biologically in need of a parent figure. So but when you have left that when you have left that belief behind, and you no longer subscribe to having or wanting or needing a parent figure, and you're not like you're not like raw dogging it, man, what then do you do? Like, for example, there's this joke this joke by this comedian I was listening to one time. So he was talking about he's a Christian. He's like, these Christian comedians, right? By the way, they're not as funny as they're not as funny as, I mean, listen, before I go back to my initial point, right? There's something I want to say. I don't like I've said it before, I don't like gospel songs, and most things that Christians do are just boring. But for people who claim to be worshipping the most creative and the most powerful, most of their things are fucking boring, man. Anyway, that's it. So yeah. So this guy is a comedian, right? A Christian comedian. He was talking about his friend who is an atheist, and the joke is like, his friend comes to him and say, "Man, bro, life is hard, man." And then him being the Christian is like, "Yeah, I know." And his friend's like, "Damn, I wish I knew what I could do, man." And then he was like, I know. I mean, sure, cool. And the point of the joke is like, there is obviously something you can do, which is pray, right? Which is like, try to put yourself in the large palms of this being, right? But because you don't believe in God, there's nothing you can do about it. You just have to like raw dog life like that. You just have to go commando and go solo on your own. So that's just the reality of life for people who don't believe in God. Yeah, okay. So but humans naturally are in need of that, right? We're in need of that parent figure archetype. So how then do you achieve that when you're not subscribed to any belief system, any religious belief system? How then do you achieve that? You achieve that by creating for yourself meaningful routines, right? It's very easy to be a slacker. It's very easy to be a bum-ass nigga. That's it. It's very, very easy to decide not to try. Most people call that nihilism. Nihilism is one of the most clever forms of man's resistance to not being his best self, to not achieving the best possible thing that he can achieve, to not being successful in his own way. Nihilism is one of that. And I actually used to be a nihilist. I actually am still a nihilist. There are some things that I am nihilistic about. There are some things that I just don't give a fuck about. So I just have to be. They're just meaninless to me. In fact, there is this saying by Socrates, right? I think how does it go again? It is a shame for a man to grow old without seeing the beauty and strength of which his body is capable of. Like, that's a very great quote, right? It is a shame for a man to grow. Like, it's a shit. Like, how most people will never know their full potential. Like, most people will never understand what it feels like to do something so difficult that they thought that they could never do before, and just to achieve it, and just most people will never know what that feels like, and that's a damn shame, man. So that's why I say it's very easy to be a bum-ass nigga. It's very easy to just decide that you're not going to contribute, and you're not going to be useful, right? It's very easy to be a couch potato or just a slouch and not do anything and just waste time. But that's not what this alien brain in our ape skull wants us to do. Like, we have to be active. We have to be productive. That's basically as a collective as the collective organism that we all are. Believe it or not, even though we are now 8 billion people on earth, we are just one giant fucking collective organism that wants to keep doing something that we don't know. We just keep producing and creating, and we don't know what we're doing. It's like a fucking butterfly before it becomes a butterfly. It's like the caterpillar. Before the caterpillar becomes a butterfly, it like keeps creating this cocoon. It doesn't know what it's doing, but then at the end of the day, it comes out as a butterfly. We just don't know that we might not know that that's what we're doing. We might be creating technology, robots, phones, cars, buildings, arts, engineering. Like, we might be doing all this stuff, but we don't know what the end game might be. We just keep doing it. And for some people to not carry their own weights, for some people to not join in the grand production of whatever it is that we are eventually going to create, for some people to just decide to be fucking couch potatoes and not do anything with their lives, it's kind of sad, right? It's kind of sad that that these humans who for the most of the time, like let's just say 70% of the time, were celebrated when they were born, right? They were celebrated as this endless potential, as this they were just there was I'm sure that 70% of the time, humans that exist today, humans that are not carrying their weight, 70% of the time were celebrated when they were born. But it's kind of sad now that this is what they are. Like, this is who they are now. They are the reason for the celebration. They are not living up to the reason for why they were celebrated when they were born. So maybe because and you know, that is one of the reasons why there is depression. I know depression can be as a result of traumatic events or there are so many other factors that can cause someone to be depressed. But one of the main and the major factors why people get depressed is because their brain and their body are not on the same page. So when you're not living up to your potential, when you're not doing what you're supposed to do in life, even if you don't know, because we're all figuring this shit out, man. Nobody knows, nobody has the answer. Nobody has everything figured. Nobody has anything figured out. We're all just raw dogging it. Whether you believe in God or don't believe in God, we're just doing the best that we can every day. But and some people, it feels like some people are just doing it effortlessly, and they just know the next move, and they just know what they're supposed to do the next day. While there are some other people who haven't figured shit out. They don't know what to do. Right, but at the end of the day, we don't know. we really don't know. Like, do you ever just reminisce and like think back to when you were a kid and you just see your parents and you feel like, and when you were a kid and you just felt like adults like had it all figured out, like adults knew exactly what to do at in every moment. Like, do you ever feel that? And then now you're an adult, you're like, holy shit, I was fucking wrong. Like, I was absolutely, utterly, unequivocally wrong. We don't know shit, man. We don't know shit. No adult knows what they're doing. We're all kids in fucking adult bodies. That's just what we are, and we're just taking it one day at a time. But there are some people who, out of fear of the unknown, decide that they are not going to keep pushing. And these are the people that I'm talking about today. And these are the people I've tried to speak to today, to at least try to help the best way I can. People who are not pushing their weight, basically. So, like, I know I keep repeating myself, and I'm not like pushing this monologue further. But yeah. Anyway, so how do you move forward? Like, how do you stop being a fucking bum ass nigga? Just create a routine for yourself, because if you don't, then the depression will come in and blah 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 and blah blah blah. But make a routine for yourself. That's basically what that's basically one of the hacks of life. If you have a routine and you stick to that routine, even though you don't necessarily or readily know what you want to do with your life, something always shows up. Like, opportunity cannot come if you are not available. That's just the truth. Like, if you're not available, if you don't show up, always show up. One of the hacks, like, I learned this I learned this a while ago, and it has always worked for me. It's like, just show up, just do the job, just do the work, and just do the best that you can do. That's basically it. And this eventually you get rewarded. Now, let me tell you what I mean by eventually you get rewarded. Let me introduce you let me introduce you to the world of psychedelics. Holy shit. Right. So back to the whole weed stuff, right? Smoke a lot of weed, we do a lot of drugs, not the harmful drugs. Okay, before I move on, now I don't know why my conversations always have my rants always have layers and layers and layers, and then as the layers keep getting stacked, I end up forgetting the first layer, and it's very difficult for me to go back to continue what I was saying. But I hope I remember this time. What I want to say is this is how I see drugs. Drugs are like abilities that make we humans able to peer or peep into the very back of heaven. Like, I know I don't believe in heaven, but I'm just going to use heaven as a very general basic concept of the otherworldly whatever it is, the multiverse or whatever it is that is beyond our reality. So drugs are what help us to be able to experience what heaven, actual heaven, not what is described in any of your religious books. Those are mundane and stale and insipid descriptions of heaven. Therefore, like, let me ask you this question. Christians, what actually happens in heaven? Like, heaven must be a fucking boring place for you to want to go to. Like, what actually happens in heaven? You die and you go there, and like, you pray to God forever, and you sing praises to him forever and ever and ever and ever and ever. Oh yeah. that's fucking disgusting, man. So what if your loved ones are not in heaven? Like, what if, for example, someone you love dies and goes to hell? Are you going to forget that they ever existed? Isn't that brainwashing? Do you have free will in heaven? Are you able to move around and do stuff? Or are you just going to be this battery that generates energy for this larger entity? You, the battery, and the energy you're generating being the praise that you're ascribing to this entity you call your God. Is that what you're going to be doing forever ad infinitum in heaven? Fuck that. I am not going. Holy shit, that even sounds scary. Who wants to go to such a place? I don't want to go to such a place. But that is what the description of heaven in the Bible is. Or what normal Christians think, that the streets are made of gold. You're going to have your mansion. Who made those mansions? Is there plumbing in the mansion? Is there air conditioning? If there is, who made the air condition? Is there like a manufacturing plant in heaven where they manufacture air conditions? Are there TVs? If the road is made of gold, how did they make roads made of gold? Like, are there machines that make, like, think of all these things, you understand? So these are very vain, placid descriptions of heaven that don't make any sense to me. But the heaven that makes sense to me, that I'm trying to describe to you guys, are the ones that we use drugs to try to bridge into. Now, there are good drugs and bad drugs. Good drugs like LSD, weed, DMT, fucking peyote, fucking ayahuasca. These are good drugs that help people to peer, like help people to just peep into heaven and see what heaven feels like and looks like. And then when they come back to this our reality, it makes them feel good, and then they are changed human beings. Like I have friends like that tell me that I should stop smoking weed. And I'm like, have you ever smoked weed? And then they say no. And then I'm like, then fuck you. You don't know you don't know what you're talking about. If you knew what it feels like to smoke weed, then you'll not be telling me to stop. So then there are also bad drugs like fucking fentanyl and cocaine and heroin. That these drugs, because we mortals are not supposed to go to heaven, we can stand at the we can stand like at the precipice of the entrance of it. We can stand so far back with the help of things like weed and LSD and DMT to look into heaven and see what it feels like, but we are not allowed to enter into heaven. But these drugs help people actually get to the back gates of heaven and actually touch the fence. And so, because of how addicting and how fucking crazy and how unimaginably cosmic heaven is, these drugs are considered bad because they want you to go back because of that feeling of how electrifying and how intriguing heaven must be. Because if you talk to someone who does fentanyl or who does heroin, it's like they just want to do it every fucking single time. If you thought, not even cocaine is not even that bad, but people who do fentanyl, like their bodies literally fall off, like their skins literally peel off, and that's because mortals are not supposed to go to heaven. You're not supposed to go there. So if you keep trying to force your way back into the back gates of heaven, your mortal body is going to fucking fall off and you're going to die. So that's why we have bad drugs and good drugs. So you're not supposed to take the bad drugs, you're supposed to take the good drugs that just help you to just look over the fence, right? That's what weed does for you. So weed, DMT, peyote, ayahuasca, all of that. Mushrooms. People who take mushrooms, yeah, same. So why did I bring up drugs? Listen, one time I smoked, right? I was high as fuck, and then I slept, and then I dreamt that I was like in space, right? Like I was fucking in space, not really space. Like I was in this. How do I explain it? It's like a fucking grand cosmic library. Like there was like billions of books, and not books in the sense of books that we understand them to look like in our own reality, right? Like books in the sense of them being these containers of endless information, like these vessels of like myriads and myriads of talents and information and ideas and things that not only humans can be gifted with, but entities that are what we call entities, or entities that exist on other planets like aliens, because we are obviously not the only beings in this universe, right? There are people, or should I say aliens, that exist on other planets, basically. So I was like in this giant fucking gigantic unimaginable library that contains fucking giant books, but they're not books, but I understood them to be books, right? Fucking giant books with I cannot even comprehend them, man. So, and these books were filled with like fucking ideas of art, engineering, technology, songs, stories, many things that people who actually do the work right here on earth get blessed with. Like, have you ever had an idea? I'm sure this has happened to 100% of us. Like, have you ever had an idea, or like a thought comes to you and you're like, fuck, this is fucking brilliant, man. But then you forget to like maybe write it down or act upon it, and then you forget it and you're like, shit, what the fuck was that idea I had, man? What the fuck was that thing I was thinking of, man? And then you cannot remember it, and then it just goes away. And next thing you know, you see someone doing that stuff and you're like, holy shit, this is the idea that I had. Like, have you ever I know I've asked this question before, like, have you ever been in a situation where there is a song or like a piece of art or like technology or something that you wish you were the one that created it? I know I have. It's happened to me a lot of times. Like there are things that I have actually thought about and forgotten, and then I end up seeing them existing. It's happened to me a lot of times. So it has. So this is what happens to people if you do the work. Like they say, heaven helps those who help themselves. That there is some truth to that. Although heaven, in the sense that you understand it, does not exist, but there is something that credits humans for their efforts. It happens. It's real. It actually exists. If you do okay, let me not even be spiritual, or let me not even be let's not even be spiritual, because I'm actually not a spiritual person. I'm just talking because I smoke a lot of weed, and there's a lot of things that I feel and that I experience, right? Let me be scientific. This is just what evolution is. Evolution is just the natural progress of things. I mean, if you do 20 push-ups every day for like 6 months, you're not going to be how you were 6 months before. You're going to change. That's just what evolution is. If you start today to practice drawing, or playing the guitar, or singing, or knitting, or painting, or breaking apart phones and laptops and computers and trying your best to fix them, and if you start today and you keep doing it every day, or coding, or learning how to edit videos, or like whatever it is you want to do, making nails, barbing people's hair, or making shoes or clothes, or like, just if you start today and you keep doing it every single day, you dedicate like an hour or 2 or 3 for it every single day, and you do it for like 1 year, you're not going to be like 1 year later, you're not going to be where you were 1 year ago. That's just the natural progression of things. That is what actual evolution. For people who don't understand what evolution is, most Nigerians think that evolution is just man coming from monkeys. See, oh God, listen, the kind of misinformation we call education in Nigeria is pitiful. It's like, I feel sorry for the educational system in Nigeria, because we don't have a long way to go. We have an entire light year of journey to go to get to where we are supposed to get to in terms of education, in terms of the educational system in Nigeria. And I hope that this new government that is coming in at least helps to make things a little bit easier for Nigerians. If not, then we are royally and utterly fucked. That's just the truth about it. So that's basically what evolution is all about. Just the natural progression of things. Just the constant movement. Just the constant forward movement of things, basically. So you work out every day, you get fit. You start eating healthy, you get healthier. You take care of yourself, you take care of your mental health, you take care of everything. Everything is all about the natural progression of things. You start from a place of not having anything, and then you try your best and you work your way up from numerous failures, and learning from your failures and implementing what you've learned into the progression of your craft or your arts, and you get better as you get better naturally. That's just how it is. That's just basically what it is. And you getting better is the universe rewarding you, taking drops of this from this book of knowledge, these giant books of knowledge that I described to you earlier, and just gifting you with it. Like you just end up, you don't even know where it comes from. You just end up observing yourself to be a lot better than you used to be in the past, and you feel a lot more better about yourself. You feel a lot more confident, and you feel naturally happy, and depression goes. That's it. That's how to cure depression. Clap for me if you can. So that's one of the ways to stop being a bum ass nigga. Just take account. What's it, how do they say it? Acknowledge your failure. They say one of the best ways to solve a problem is acknowledging that there is one in the first place. So once you acknowledge that, oh, this life that I am living is not the life that I envisioned that I want to live. If the life that you envision that you want to live is one where you sit or you lie in bed all day scrolling your phone, watching TikTok, jerking off, drinking, eating pizza, not contributing to anything in any way, shape, or form. If that's the life you feel like you naturally, honestly, truthfully, objectively want to live, then I mean, sure, why not? If there are people who will be ultra successful, why can't we have people who are not to be harsh or like not to sound unkind? Why can't we have people who are absolute losers? Like, I mean, that's the balance of life, right? For you to have Gary, you guys get Igusi soup, man. For you to have like fucking how do I even say it, sef? For you to have Gary, there has to be Egusi soup, man. For you to have up, there has to be down. For you to have left, there has to be right. For you to have good, there has to be bad. For you to have hard, there has to be soft. So for there to be ultra successful winners, there have to be absolute losers. So as hurtful or as painful as that might sound, that's just the truth. That's just reality for you, man. So if that's what you want to be, then go ahead, be that. But like I can remember back in secondary school, me and my best friend, we used to have this we used to have these stupid thought experiments. And one of the thought experiments was like, what if there is like every 1,000 years, like there are 7 billion people on earth, and every 1,000 years, like there's this giant monster that comes and because school was so fucking horrible back then, man. Holy fucking shit, man. Nigerian schools. Wait, let me ask you a question before I continue my story. Let me ask you a question. Why is flogging allowed in Nigerian schools? I know that we are stubborn. We Nigerians, we are rigidly stubborn. But why? Like, violence is never the answer. As in, violence is never the answer. That's just the truth. But why did teachers back then feel like flogging someone or inflicting pain on someone is going to cause them to change? Nobody likes being told what to do. That's just the entire concept of humanity. We don't like being told what to do, especially fucking teenagers. Teenagers don't like being told what to do. And then you pile a lot of them up in a fucking what you call boarding school, and then you keep policing them about, and then you expect them to behave. Like, who is more stupid, the teenagers or the people in charge? So I don't understand why we're being cajoled and flogged all the time. Police didn't make any sense, and still doesn't make any sense to me if they're still doing it in Nigeria. So we used to have this thought experiment that because school was horrible and we just wanted to climb fence and go and play game and eat suya. Why? And we always came up with, like, we always like the thought experiment now, like, what if like there is a giant that comes every 1,000 years and takes only one person from the entire world and eats them? Like, just only one person and then eats them. Like, what and then the giant comes and takes either me or him. Like, what reason? And then we're like, how can it be me? Like, every 1,000 years this giant come, and then that year makes it the 1,000th year, and I happen to, out of 7 billion people, I happen to be the one person this giant finds and eats. It's not possible. It cannot be me. So that's just the same way. Will you rather be this, even though you have chosen to be a bomb ass nigga, right? Will you rather be the bomb ass nigga? Like, will you rather have it be you or be someone else? Like, you wouldn't want to be the invalid. You wouldn't want to be the person that everybody just says, everybody sighs when size in their presence, right? You wouldn't want to be that person. You'd want to be the people. You want to be the person people want to meet. People want to be around. People want to take an example from. People want to learn from. At least that's how I see myself, or that's what I want for myself. I don't know about everyone else, but for the majority of us, I feel like that's what we want for our lives, right? That's why we are so intrigued by the celebrity culture. People imagine people imagine people watching Big Brother Nigeria. Like, why do you think people watch that? Like, why do you think people spend time watching Big Brother Nigeria? It doesn't makes absolutely no sense to me. But everybody has their vice, right? There are people who watch Big Brother Nigeria. There are people who watch soccer. There are people who watch other people play video games. There are people who womanize. There are people who drink. There are people who gamble. There are people who steal. There are people who connive and deceive. Everybody has their vice. So nobody is perfect. So I just answered my own question. The reason why people watch Big Brother Nigeria is the same reason I watch other people play video games. Simple and short. So stop judging people, you fucking asshole. So anyway, yeah. But just because people, like, it doesn't mean, well, anyway, the same. I'm sure people who watch Big Brother Nigeria will think that me watching other people play video games does not make any sense. So let's just end that topic there. So anyway, the point I was trying to make is that people are so intrigued by celebrity culture. People are so captivated by it, and that they'll fucking, I don't know how true this is, but there's this fucking trend in Nigeria where I don't know where the Nigerians are getting the money from to buy cars and buildings for their celebrity gods. I don't know how true that is, but I'm very sure that that's not true. That is not true. I don't believe that people are buying cars for other people. It just doesn't make any sense to me. Might be true, and it might even prove my point that people are so crazy about celebrities and influencers and people who they see on TV and on the internet. So, yeah, that is basically why people want to that is basically why people want to be always drawn to celebrities, because they feel like these celebrities are living the lives that they can potentially live, like they are living their dream lives for them. That's why that's why it's very easy for people to fall victims for the fake life, like the fake Instagram lives, and people are so captivated by it, and how shiny and glamour oh Jesus Christ, English you understand? What the fuck, glamorized it is. And how sensationalized it is, right? So but at the end of the day, it's not as intriguing and as captivating and as realistic as people think they are. But we have created for ourselves new gods. I don't know if anybody has read this book, American Gods, by Neil Druckmann. What? American Gods. Yeah, American Gods is the name of the book by I forgot who wrote it. I'm sure it's Neil Druckmann, right? American Gods. So in the book, like, it talks about the old gods like Jesus, Zeus, Amon-Ra, Isis, fucking Demeter, like the old gods that we're used to, right, are dying because nobody is worshipping them anymore, and instead people are now worshipping the new gods like media, like gluttony, like fucking technology, what other god, like sex, what other god was there in the book, which other god again? So basically, that is basically what the book is all about. And the old gods are not happy with the new gods, and so there is a war that's about to happen because the old gods are, and the new gods are taking the humans and the worshippers of the old gods, and so like they want to fight, blah blah blah. So basically, that what I'm trying to say is that we have now created for ourselves new gods, and these new gods are in the form of social media and influencers and celebrities and consumerism and everything else that comes with it, and we are being distracted by it constantly every single time, and so distracted that we don't have time for introspection. We don't have time to look within ourselves and ask ourselves what we actually want and why we're actually here. And in fact, it's not a new thing actually, because back in the olden day, like back in back in the olden days, right? When Rome was in power, how they distracted their citizens from whatever was going on was to throw raves, basically, like to throw stuff, like to keep pumping them with stuff that will keep them distracted from what is actually going on, like the shows that they always put up, like the parties and all of that stuff, like the gladiator battles and all those stuff, and people were always intrigued by all of that stuff and just fixated on them. So that's how the government of Rome like just kept their people in perpetual ignorance, and that's exactly what is going on here, going on in our current time right now. So anyway, unplug yourself from the matrix is basically what I'm saying, and try to be the best way. Like I have actually observed, and I've actually come up with, the best way that you can live your life is to be intentional and deliberate, and actually actually, what's the other word now, just active, like conscious of yourself. Like there are people who I think are NPCs, like non-playable characters. I've said this before. There are people who I feel are NPCs, people who just exist on autopilot. Like they don't know, they're not conscious of their surroundings. They're not conscious of what is going on outside of themselves. They're just so self-centered and so delusional with reality that they don't know that they don't even know. So I feel like I call them NPCs, non-playable characters. But don't be that. Don't be a fucking NPC. Be conscious of yourself. Be deliberate with your actions. Be like conscientious of how you're supposed to live. And that's basically what makes life livable in a nutshell. So going back to the book I was talking about when I started, The War of Art, and its core theme, which is resistance. How to resist resistance is just being deliberate with yourself. It's being intentional. It's being active, and it's like when you want to do something, right? And that urge, that's urge, like, you know, they always say the spirit is willing but the body is weak. What we call the spirit is what I call the mind, the brain, right? And you want to do something but you cannot do it because you're feeling lazy and you're feeling so reluctant to get it done. Just okay, this is something I always think about, right? Time travel exists, but not in the sense that movies make them out to be. Like, this is how I imagine time travel, and this is how I always time travel actually. Like, I do it all the fucking time, and you might find what I'm about to say ridiculous, but I'm going to explain. Time travel exists, but not the way you imagine it to be. Like normally in the movies, right? Someone will create like a portal and that you can use to go back and kill Hitler or like fuck your mom or something, and then or go to the future or like go back to the past and like steal or stuff like that. We all know the concept of how time travel themed movies are, but that's not how I see. That's not how I imagine time travel. The way I imagine time travel is like, let's say I want to get something done right now, right? I always imagine that I always imagine that if I don't get it done, then I am going to open another timeline, which is a horrible timeline. Naturally, like a lot of bad things are going to happen. I don't know if it's because of the OCD I have, but I'm going to open another timeline, which is a very horrible timeline. But then there is another potential timeline where I was supposed to get it done, because where I was supposed to get it done. And so my future self is going to like send a telepathic message to my present self and force me to do it, so that we're not going to open this horrible timeline. We're going to continue with our timeline that we're going to continue with our timeline that is eventually going to lead us to a more prosperous and peaceful, progressive order timeline. So me resisting the resistance is me getting a message from my future self to force me to do whatever it is that I'm feeling reluctant and lazy to do, right? Say if I want to work out, or if I want to like go for a run, or if I want to like start something, or if I want to like actually make a fucking podcast like I'm doing today, I force myself to do it. I force myself to get it done. And me forcing myself to get it done is me getting that telepathic message from my future self to my present self to help me get it done, basically. So that is what I mean by time travel exists. And that is my own concept of time travel. Me doing in the present what I'm supposed to do, or what you get. What, I don't know if you get me, but you get me. I'm sure you get me. So yeah, so that's how to resist the resistance. That's how to be a better, productive, progressive, fucking prospective individual. Yeah. So that's basically it. And that's all I have to say today. That's all I have to say. Listen, there is this new ability that you can do. You can actually leave a comment. Like you can actually leave a comment when you're done listening to the episode, or when you're done listening to the podcast. Like you can scroll down and leave a comment to tell me what you think about the episode, and give me your feedbacks and all of that, and yada yada and rada and all of that. So and that's just it. Just leave your comments when you're done listening to the episode, and let me know what you think about it. And that's about that. Learn to resist the resistance that is the fall of man, and make yourself a better person. That's basically all you have to do. Imagine how much farther we would have gone, how much farther humanity would have gone if everybody just basically did what they were supposed to do. If everybody just stepped up and just did what they were supposed to do. Imagine how far would have gone if we were as unified as the ants. You know how unified ants are. Imagine how far we would have gone. That's crazy, bro. But we are just digressing, and we're just fucking up. So yeah, that's all I have to say about that today. I'm done. And I hope you guys follow me on all my social medias, and if you're into all that kind of stuff. And I'll talk to you guys soon. All right, bye everybody.